now going to touch the pad. Everybody in the world fused. Yeah, there you go. Now then, crew, and welcome back to the Andy Mechanic YouTube channel. And I've got the gorgeous tall girl Lily in the workshop again.
Nice to be back again.
I know, we're doing a great job today.
Smashing out.
We're really motoring today. We've done a mail call video. Lily's got a nice, go on, show us your outfit, Lily.
Yeah, sure.
Jeez,
Awesome.
honestly, we can't not look at that. Give us a twirl. Boots,
So cool.
hot pants. Very hot pants,
I
actually.
love them. They're super hot pants.
That's cool.
If you want hot pants, those are hot
They're the ones. Yeah, if you look at a dictionary under the word hot pants, you'll see Lily wearing
Photo
those
of
pants.
me,
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, on this video, I was given an old lawnmower which had died, and it was up on the scrap heap, and nobody had told me why it had died, other than the fact that the engine stopped working.
Right.
So, Lily's still sort of getting the hang of working on the tools, and she wants to learn all about engines and what's inside them and how they work. So I thought, well, what better option or example is to get that lawnmower, rip the engine out, pull the engine down, so she can start to learn some of the basic internal components. Plus, you know, who knows, we might find what's failed. You know, it might have seized up, it could be the big end that's blown, it could be the mains that have gone, it might have bent a valve, who knows? I don't know, but we're going to find out.
Let's do this.
Are you ready?
Awesome.
Right, Lily, this is what we've got to work with.
Awesome.
It's going to be a single cylinder engine, so it's only got one piston, not quite like your car engine, but it's got lots of pistons. So a single cylinder, similar to that motorcycle we did earlier on that we got started.
Awesome.
It's a 4-stroke, so again it's got valves and it's got a valve train and stuff.
What's the difference between 4-stroke and 2-stroke?
Well, you know when the fuel ignites
Yes.
and it pushes the piston down.
Yes.
On a 4-stroke, the fuel only ignites every other time the piston gets to the top.
Right.
So the piston goes through 4 strokes to create 1 stroke of power.
Right.
Whereas a 2-stroke, every time the piston comes down, it's under force with that explosion.
Right. Okay.
That's a basic sort of summary.
Right.
Okay, now I don't think it isn't going to run. I'm not even going to try to get it started, but we can do a compression test.
Oh, cool. Okay.
First. So I think the pull cord's no use to us. I'm not going to stand there and try and pull the pull cord all the time.
Yep.
So we're going to remove the pull cord, and normally on the top end of the crank there's a big nut.
Okay.
So we can use some kind of electric drill or something to spin the engine over whilst we've got the compression gauge. And that fits where the spark plug normally goes. So probably the first thing we'll do is remove this. This is, you asked a minute ago just off camera what this is. This is the fuel tank.
Right, so it does hold the fuel.
It should do, yeah. And somebody's obviously left the cap off or stolen the cap for another lawnmower. It's been outside, it's going to be full of water.
Yes.
Now hopefully that water hasn't made it into the car, but like I said, we're not trying to get it going, so it doesn't really matter too much. We're just going to pull it apart and have a look and see what's going on.
Awesome.
So, to do that, we're going to need to undo these 4 bolts. Now, they're an 8mm, so if you get an 8mm socket, and you also need your impact wrench, which is in the second drawer up of the tool trolley. So, it's from the bottom. There you go. Brilliant, you've got it.
Awesome.
And I should find a box to put all the bits in. In fact, if you look up there, there's a red tray. If you grab that, we can use all that for the fasteners and stuff. Yeah, that'll work. Chuck it down there. Then we've got somewhere to throw all the bits. Right, so you just buzz those out. Make sure you're in undo mode. Always give it a little test first. So, there you go. Brilliant. Now, I must admit, I very rarely ever work on lawnmowers, so we might get to a bit where I have to have a little think about how the next bit comes apart, but I think they're pretty simple, to be honest.
Right.
I'm not a small engine specialist.
I've never sort of looked at this before.
You've never cut the grass?
I only looked at cars. Not really, no.
Me neither.
We had a ride on. We had a ride on
Oh,
at
really?
the previous place. I used to
I was
start that up and go.
I was watching videos on YouTube the other day, and this one popped up of a guy on ride on a lawnmower, and he was going up this little embankment, and it flipped over.
Oh no!
And I was like, seriously? There you go. Look,
Man,
that's
they're
that
quite
done.
heavy things too.
Yeah, so that's the pull start mechanism.
Right. Oh, I see.
And if you look carefully, can you see?
Wow, it's quite a straightforward.
Yeah, as you pull it, these
isn't
two
it?
little tines spring out. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So if you stop pulling, they'll retract. So
Oh, I see.
you
And
they go back in
yeah,
again?
yeah,
and then
right.
you pull them. And what they do is they grab on to these little lugs
Ah, yes.
inside that disc. But what?
Interesting.
So that actually still works. So we'll chuck it on trading and get a dollar for it. Who knows?
Thanks or anything. That's good.
Now inside here, that's the big nut I was talking about.
Yes.
So we've definitely got what we need
Okay.
to turn the engine over. And by the looks of it, oh, that sounded ominous, doesn't it? It does turn over. It's not
Right.
seized, so that's a bonus for a
Good
start.
sign.
Because if it was seized up, we wouldn't be able to do a compression test.
Yes.
obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Next job is to find the spark plug. Can you find a
Right.
wire where the spark plug is on?
Wire.
Actually, it might be on here. Look. It's an
Yeah.
odd looking one. They've obviously put a little cap on it to pull it
Right.
off. So.
Oh,
there we
yeah,
are.
there we are.
Right.
That's-
So we need to remove that spark plug. So we'll go and find a socket that's going to fit on there. I actually quite like to pull this cowl off as well because it's sort of in the way, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Shall we?
So you need a 10mm
Yeah.
socket for that. Yeah, if you put a 10mm on your impact wrench, it'll whiz off the air filter. Get rid of that. Jeez, it's a long thread.
Is
Right.
it just this one's here?
Yep, you've got
Yep.
one there. There might be one behind the air filter. I've got a look.
Oh, yeah, there is.
I don't know.
Behind there. Yeah. Here.
Is there one
on the
down
thing.
there? Nope. Okay.
No, but just behind here there is.
Right.
So we might need to.
That's the carb. We've got to leave those two alone. So you buzz that one off, and I've got two on this side to come off as well.
Oh, I think it is a 12.
Oh, is yours bigger than mine? No, it should be a 10. Have you got a 10 or a 9
Oh,
now?
9. I've got a 9.
Jeez,
Oh,
There's your problem.
got a 9. Right.
Okay, should easily buzz off. Yum, there you go. Right.
Quite a long.
Okay, chuck it over here and I'll do these two.
That one.
I get to do something, look at this. Not often.
There's
Right.
one more.
Is there another one?
It's hidden behind this.
Oh, for God's sake, really?
Right there. Yeah.
Who designed that? Okay,
Right in that
so
corner. So could we?
let's see how that's held on. Oh, that's. Yeah, I don't really want to take that off just yet.
Yeah.
Hang on. So,
There's little. If I got a.
oh, there we go. Hang on. We don't need that bit.
Oh, it's
There we
yeah,
go.
right. It's got
Well,
2.
We'll just get rid of that. It had some
Right, there
screws.
we go. It did. It
Yeah,
did.
it had.
Like, we could get
We
this
don't need
off.
those
No,
anymore.
we don't need
All
that.
right.
Okay.
So there you go. Fortunately, it's just scrap. we can do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. There we go. That's the cowl out of the way. So we can see a bit more what's going on now.
Yeah.
Oh, it's loose already.
It's loose.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Here's
God.
loose.
Okay, so you can take that out if you want.
Yeah, just thread them out.
Man, I like machines that you don't need many tools to take apart. But I think
Yeah, it was quite loose.
obviously the previous owners tried to get it going
Right,
and had the spark plug out, and of course they couldn't get it running, so that was the end of that really. Now we can probably buzz off the exhaust as well. We don't need the exhaust for this, so we can get rid of that. So it makes it easy to film as well.
Right, yeah.
See if we can get the socket on there. It looks a bit tight. It's a bit bent. See if we can get in there. Not sure. You might have to have a hammer. There we go. Right, that's one. And two.
Nice.
I do like these impact wrenches. They're great, aren't they?
So good.
Make things so easy.
Awesome.
Right, one exhaust. We can bin that.
Oh.
That's all right. Free washer. Washers are good. You can go in the washer
They
box.
do, yeah.
Okay. Some mole grips. They're a silver pair of pliers. There we go. That'll do. Yep, perfect. So what we can do with those, these are really good for gripping onto things that
Yes, and then
are
locking.
usually a
Hey?
bit rounded, yeah. So maybe. Oh, look at that.
Oh, nice.
Good old vice grips, they are good. Right, okay, we'll go on the threads. There we are. That'll do. Brilliant.
Nice.
No point in having something sticking out. It could injure us, you never know. We don't want that. Right. Okay, so where are we at? So we've got the spark plug out. Now, just a quick summary of what's going on. Obviously this is the what we call the HT lead,
Yes.
and this is the ignition coil here, look.
Right.
Alright, so this is what makes the spark, and it basically has a current induced into it via the pickup that spins around. Can you see there's a,
Yes.
in there, look, there's like a big
Yes.
magnet sort of embedded in the flywheel.
Yeah.
And whenever that spins past there, with the ignition turned on, it'll actually create a spark. And when you turn your lawnmower off, all you're doing is putting the primary circuit to ground, and it just stops it making a spark. So that's pretty cool. So we really don't even need the ignition coil on, so you can buzz that off if you want as well.
Awesome.
So that's those two bolts there, look. Fantastic. Brilliant. And we might have a little plug to disconnect. There we are.
Yep.
And that should.
Slide
You
on.
can feel the magnet now, look. See?
Yeah, you can see
Yeah.
it. Oh, wow. Oh,
It's quite strong, isn't it?
interesting little device.
So we've got an ignition coil, so that'll come in handy one day. Okay, so we're getting down to the bare engine now, aren't we?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
mechanicals of what's going on. Now, obviously all engines need oil, and that's where this is where we put the oil in, so
Yeah.
we'll just see if it's got any oil in it. Again, we don't know. This is a bit of an autopsy. It's got some oil in, hasn't it? It's looking a bit milky, so there might be some water in the oil. Again, it's
Right.
been parked outside for God knows how long, so
Yes.
probably enough for what we want.
Right.
Okay, so all we've got left really, this is the cylinder, and here we've got the valve arrangement. It's an overhead valve engine, so you've got the intake and exhaust valves housed in this casting. And then to the right here we've got the traditional carburettor.
Cool.
Yeah, no fuel injection on this machine, it's
Right.
just old school
Old
carburettor.
school.
And a lot of sort of, these kind of devices they still run carbs, like your weed
Right,
whackers and that kind of
yes,
stuff.
yeah,
They haven't gone down the fuel injection route, because they just
Right.
keep it simple, keep it cheap.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to find a drill and a socket that we can put onto there to crank the engine over, and we'll put the compression tester
Test
in
on
there,
there.
and we'll see
Right.
what kind of a compression we get.
Okay.
Who knows? It
Awesome.
might be nothing.
Right. Let's test it.
Yeah, let's get
Find
set
out.
up. Yeah, too right. What are you doing there, Lily?
I'm just listening to the sound,
Oh yeah,
and I can feel some air pushing out of this hole.
out of a hole.
But the pressure that's coming is so inconsistent, so it's coming really quietly, and then it's like popping through.
Well,
Like
don't forget, as you're
pressure.
turning the crankshaft, the piston's
Yes.
moving up and down the cylinder.
Right.
And as the piston goes up on the compression stroke, it's squashing the air that's in the cylinder, so it's getting under pressure. Now, if the rings are leaking, that pressure could be leaking down past the rings into the crankcase, and that might be a crankcase breather.
Popping. Oh, I see.
Yeah, it could
right.
well be. So we can have a look as we get further into the
Interesting
strip.
hearing the change
the
in the
noise.
pressure of the air coming through.
Yeah, that's engines for you.
Yeah, can
Now-
you hear it? It's like a popping
I can
sound,
hear
yeah.
it really well actually. Yeah, you know, if we turn that, there you go.
Yeah, it's like
Okay,
yeah.
right. So let's find the compression tester first.
Okay.
We buried this in this cupboard somewhere. Right, Lily. So we've got here no sponsor, a bike service compression tester that I bought a fair few years ago now.
Awesome.
And in here it's got a gauge. There we are, look, there's the
Oh,
gauge,
wow.
so you can hold on to that for a minute.
Awesome.
And it's got a series of pipes, and they've all got different thread sizes.
Right.
So, have you still got the original spark plug? What do we do with that? Did you put it in the box? Because you took it out, didn't you? Mr. Spark plug. There he is.
Got 'em there?
Maybe I put it in the box. Alright, so the question is, do we have a pipe with that size thread on it? Well, that looks about right, doesn't it?
Right,
I think we're
yeah.
good. So, what you can do, if you just lean over a little bit, if you try and keep the
Thread that
pipe
in
straight, yeah, try and thread it in there for us.
Okay.
Okay? Cheers. I got it. Don't panic. It's not going to roll off the bench and crush you. It's only a lawnmower.
Just a lawnmower, it's not a car.
It's always good to do a bit of testing before you strip things down.
Right.
Because
yes,
once,
yeah.
I've come across a few mechanics and they suspect what the problem is, but they they usually go by what the customer says.
Right.
And they'll start pulling the engine apart, but of course once it's in bits, you can't do tests like this anymore.
Yes, yeah, you don't know, whether.
That's cool. So it doesn't need to be super tight. It's only got an O-ring, so it's
Awesome.
Now the gauge, just make sure there's no air in it. That's the pressure release there.
Right.
And you can. This is like an airline fitting, so you pull that collar up, push in the silver bit, and then the brass collar will pop back into base.
Oh.
Look at that. Fantastic.
Right,
Using the shorts for.
Awesome. Yeah, just some pressure.
Yeah, brilliant. Right, so that's now installed.
Awesome.
All we need to do now is dig out the electric drill, find a socket, and give it a spin up. Now I do remember that Benjamin starts one of his lawnmowers using an electric drill, so there might even be one kicking around that's already set up for us.
Cool.
So I'm going to go rummage around his bench.
Okay. Awesome.
You can carry on making noises if you
Yeah,
like.
I'm trying to.
Perfect. Okay, it's quite big. This is what he uses to start his lawnmower, or one of them.
Right.
It's a pretty decent one. Is it a Metaboom? And the output is pretty big. It's 1100 watts.
Wow.
So 5.1 amps, and it'll rotate at 640 RPM maximum speed. So it's mains powered. Yeah. So it's mains powered. So we need to find. I'll go and find an extension lead. Get that rigged up. If you want to keep hold of that, and I'll then need to find a socket for it as well.
Awesome.
Need some power. Okay, socket time. So I would say probably a 22, maybe. Let's have a little look. There's a 22. Right, let's try that on there, Lily. Give that a go. Does that feel a snug fit? A bit slack, isn't it? Maybe a 21.
Yeah, a little bit too big.
It might even be a funny American size.
Right.
There's 21. Try that.
Yeah.
Good fit? That'll do. Okay. Brilliant. Jeez, let's just do a little trial run with that drill first. If you lift it off and then press the trigger. Cool. Okay. That'll do. Now it's going to have quite a big kick.
Okay.
All right, because you're trying to turn a whole engine, so the easiest thing to happen is the drill will spin the other way.
Okay.
All right. So what I'd like you to do, the trick is to try and it is a progressive trigger on there, so you can sort of gently squeeze it like a throttle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And then just slowly bring up the speed of the engine until you get to maximum RPM, and we'll see what we get on the gauge. We might not get anything at all. We'll have to find out. So when you're ready, good luck. There we go. That's it. Right, give me some beans. Oh yeah. Great job. That was professional. Okay, so what have we got? Well, the black gauge is PSI, so we've got to 50, 60, 70, just over 80 PSI. That's not great for a 4-stroke engine, to be honest. I think
what should it be at?
Lawnmowers tend to run pretty low compression ratios anyway, because they're designed to run on pretty cheap fuel. But a compression ratio for a motorcycle is usually about 130 to 150, 160.
Okay, so
it's very low.
Yeah.
Now that could be down to maybe leaking valves, bent valve, burnt valve, leaking piston rings. Some things allowing the pressure that's being the pressure of the gases inside the cylinder. This time it's only air that's in there.
Yeah.
To leak out.
Right.
So
Would that be related to that?
It could be.
Sound?
It could be. We could even do a leak down test.
Interesting.
To find out where that leaks from. We should do that actually.
Yeah,
we should do that. So we're going to release the pressure in here. So just press that button there. Look, easy as that. So we disconnect that.
Cool.
Now to do a leak, we can eliminate that. Now we're finished. So pop it on the bench. Yeah. There you go.
Feel powerful with that.
Oh yeah. It's
No one's going to mess with me with that.
it's a big tool.
It is.
Right. So now we've got to take this back out and remove the Schrader valve that's in the bottom there in order to allow air to go back into the cylinder. Because at the moment, when we were doing that test, the compression of the cylinder was travelling up the pipe here for the gauge to read it, and there's a one-way valve, so no air can go that way.
Right.
And we're going to put the airline on here and introduce some air pressure to listen to see where the air is leaking out. Right. And we need to get the cylinder, the valves, to obviously going to make sure that both the two valves are fully closed.
Okay.
All right?
Right.
So we'll need to get this cover off as well and have a
Okay.
little look. So you can whip that out first.
Awesome.
I'll find the tool for removing the Schrader valve. Well, normally kept on the tie machine, so we've got that.
Awesome.
Brilliant stuff. Right. So inside there is a little valve.
Ah, yes.
All right.
Right.
And just like on your valve for your car
Yes,
tires.
like a car.
Yeah. And this is a special tool. So it's got a little notch in it, and that notch lines up with the flat of the valve, and you can put it in there and just turn it like a screwdriver.
Interesting.
There you go. Give it a go.
Awesome. By doing it left to loosen it.
Oh, yeah. Normally anti-clockwise. Yeah, I don't think it's a right-hand thread. Is it coming out?
Oh yeah, there we
You
go.
got it?
Yep, yep.
Yeah. I think it's only on fuel pressure systems or fuel rails they have a left-hand Schrader valve, which is really annoying.
Come right out. It will
Yeah,
just thread out?
it should come all the way out. Yeah. So you should be able to just pull it out with your
Oh,
fingers.
right.
I think.
Oh, yeah,
There you
there
go.
we go.
You got it.
Cool.
So the reason why it was a bit stiff is it has a little seal.
Right.
I'll put a little O-ring somewhere, maybe a little O-ring down there, just to hold it in. But that's fine. That's what we need out. And to test it, we can go like this.
Awesome.
Brilliant. So now we know that it's clear
Clear.
for doing our
Right.
next test.
Awesome.
Our leak
Okay.
down test. Right.
Awesome, I see. So we pop this back in.
Yes, you can wind that back in again now. And I'll get the airline fired up and see how we're going to plan it. I think I used my blowdown gun last time with a bit of rubber hose on it to clip onto here.
Ah, yes, yes.
So it'll take me a minute to set that up.
Awesome.
In the meantime, while I'm doing that,
Yes.
once you've got that wound in, you can undo those 4 bolts and this cover will come off.
Awesome.
All right. Now there might be a bit of oil, so I'll get you a rag. In fact, do you want to wear some gloves now? Because it is going to get really oily.
Okay, I can, yeah.
All right, I'll find you some gloves then.
Awesome.
Great stuff. There we go. Look,
8 or 10.
10, I think.
Yeah, it is.
There you go, Lily. There's some gloves for you as well. All right.
Awesome. Thank you. Right. I like the colour. Awesome.
Good job. Okay, so you can pull that cover off now.
Take this cover. Oh yeah, not too
Ah,
much
look
oil.
at that. So we can
Wow,
have a little
it's
look in there, and
shiny.
I'll talk to you about the valves.
Cool.
Easy. Right, let's get rid of all these
Awesome.
parts. Now, you're learning without me, aren't you? It's pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, I was just listening to that sound again. I'm like, hang on, those are moving.
Yeah, that's right. So what we've got here is we've got 2 valves, because we said it was an overhead valve engine, didn't we?
Yeah.
So one of these valves opens to allow the air-fuel mixture in from the carburettor into the cylinder as the piston's going down. It sucks that in.
Right.
And then the other valve will open, which is the exhaust valve, and I'm not sure which is which just yet, we'll find out. The other valve will open when the piston's coming up after the power cycle.
Right.
You know, the piston's been forced down by the explosion. When it comes back up, the exhaust valve will open and it'll push all the exhaust fumes out through the exhaust port.
Right.
So, for us to do a leak down test, we need to make sure that these 2 valves are fully closed in the compression cycle,
Right.
which means that these will stay closed the longest. So if you turn that slowly, okay, so that's one opening, and then that one opens straight after.
Yes,
So keep
right,
going
that
again.
one's-
Okay, now that'll do. So at the moment, wow, that's loose, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jeez. Golly gosh.
Is that tightened by these ones here? Or
I think there's an adjuster on there to adjust
Right.
the slack, but that's
so much play in it?
yeah, that's pretty floppy, isn't it? It's not doing a great job. Okay, so we're just going to go back a little bit. Okay, so that one now is closing, and you can see now that they're both closed,
Yes, yeah.
and there's quite a long time because the piston's going down under the power cycle, and it'll get down to the bottom, and then when it starts to come back up, it's going to push out the exhaust fumes. So that should be the exhaust valve.
Right.
All right. So exhaust valve, exhaust fumes are going out.
Yeah.
All right. And now pistons come to the top of the cylinder, and then the intake valve should open, which is that one there.
Yeah.
And that should now allow some fresh fuel air mixture to go in.
Come in. Yeah.
All right. So we've identified now that this is the intake valve,
Yes,
and the
and
lower
that's
one is the exhaust valve. So both valves are closed.
Yeah.
All right. And now we can put some pressure into the cylinder, and we need to listen to see if there's any leaks.
Right.
So if that air escapes, it might escape through the exhaust,
Yeah.
through the exhaust valve, in which case it's going to come out here. It
Right.
might escape through the intake valve if it's not seated properly, which means it will come out here.
Yeah.
Or if it's leaking down past the piston rings, it's going to come out on the crankcase breather. Or
Right.
if you take the dipstick out, it'll come out here as well as there.
And that could be that area that I was
It could-
feeling the
it
air
could-
from before.
Yeah, it could well be.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
Let me go grab the airline.
Okay.
We'll get it rigged up.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
Righty.
So put the airline in there.
Yep.
And what this does is it's a very rudimentary kind of leak down tester,
Right.
but it means we can regulate the amount of air that comes out using the trigger.
Yes, and then that just fits.
Yeah, I'm just going to hold that on there.
Cool.
Very basic, you see, isn't it? And I need you to one hand to hold the crank still, because if the piston rings are good and there isn't much of a leak, it might actually push the piston back down again.
Right.
Yeah, and we don't want that because
Yeah.
it then opens the valve. Okay, right, so here we go. You feel it pushing?
Yeah, I can.
Let's give that line look. Wow.
Wow, it's quite strong.
Okay, you alright?
Yep. Jesus. Good.
That's a good sign though, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is, yeah.
Okay, right.
It's really working against my
So
hand.
can you hear it leaking anywhere? Can you hear any noise?
I can hear suction somewhere in
I'll tell you what I'm going to do.
here.
I'm going to get you the power bar and the
Okay.
socket so you
And
can
just
actually...
hold it?
Yeah, because if that spins up and it catches your finger,
Yeah, I can feel
I can
it
see a
pulling.
court case coming
I
my
can
way.
feel it pulling and I'm like, I'm not strong enough.
Okay, so in the interest of safety, Lily, there is your power bar. So if you want to lock that onto the socket somehow, onto the nut. And then
Okay.
that's it. Yeah, don't move it. So keep
Just
that
keep it
down
like
like
that.
that.
Okay.
So if you pull down on it, so it doesn't.
Down, no.
Yes, there's no way it's going to jump off.
Okay.
And you should have a lot more leverage now to keep
Yeah,
that in
that
position.
way.
So if you just keep that white line there.
Okay.
So in
Alright.
that position. Okay. So we're going to try again. Have another go. And we're just listening to see if we can hear where the air may be leaking from.
Okay, well, where's
You
this
ready?
gonna turn? This way. Oh, this is so much easier.
There we go. That's pretty good, isn't it? Actually?
Where's the...
There we go.
Hmm.
There is a bit of a leak, isn't there?
I can hear it, oh.
Yeah.
Coming from that side?
Ah, because we moved. See
Oh,
the little
yes,
white line
right,
moved? See your
right,
exhaust valve is
yeah.
just starting to open, so
Okay.
that's not bad, you know. It's not bad at all. Okay, well, what we can do to be conclusive,
Okay.
we can get some tissue,
Oh,
some normal toilet roll, unused by the way.
yeah. You'd hope so.
Yeah, and we can get a single ply. That's that bit there. Look. Okay, and
Pop over here.
yeah, just stick it over there. We can actually let go of it. It
Let
should
go
just
of
pop
it,
off
yeah.
if there's any significant leak. So you
Right.
brace yourself again. Make sure you keep that lined up.
Yeah.
And we'll give it another go. I'll try and seal it properly here. You can just see it moving, can't you? But there really isn't much going on.
Not too much.
Okay, let's just remove the dipstick
Okay.
and see if we get any blow-by past the rings.
No.
So we'll take that out. Just going to move that rag back again. It's just starting to move a bit of oil. There we go. And we're going to go again. See if we can hear it this time. No, it's pretty good, isn't it?
That's good.
Yeah.
It's not really... Yeah.
Yeah. So the valve, both the intake and exhaust valves are sealing really well,
Right.
and the piston rings are also sealing very well in the bore because we're getting good force on here. It's actually trying to push you around, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, it
Yeah.
is. You can
Cool,
feel it,
okay.
Yeah.
So we've not really found any mechanical fault with this engine yet.
Right.
But we've finished our testing. That's all we need to do now.
Yeah.
So we can begin the disassembly. So I think the first thing to do is to take the engine off the chassis of the lawnmower.
Right.
And to do that, we've got to flick it over.
Okay.
And to do that, we should really drain the oil.
Drain the oil.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the oil drain is just
Oil
down
and
here.
solution. Right.
Yeah. God knows how we're going to get it out of there, but anyway,
Okay.
we'll see how we get on.
Right.
Maybe we'll just risk it and put it on its side.
Okay.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll put the dipstick back in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can screw that back in there, look. Get rid of the airline. So it's still a mystery as to why this engine was,
Why?
you know, it's a bit down on compression, but I don't know. Maybe because we've spun it over a few times, the oil's got onto the bore of the cylinder. Maybe it was dry before. Maybe it's a lot better now. Okay, so we can get rid of this. That can come out of there.
Take this off.
Yep, you can lose that as well. Brilliant. It's amazing how many tools you use. For
Yeah,
stuff,
it is,
isn't
yeah.
It's starting to stack up, isn't it? Okay, I think for now we'll stick the rocker cover back on, just so we're not going to weep loads of oil anyway. Find the impact wrench. There you go. There's a little impact wrench. There's the cover, and we're going to need the bolts. 4. Cool. Oh, you go the right way up, look. Oh, professional. Now that thing's quite powerful, so you don't have to do a mega tight. It doesn't matter because it's scrap anyway. But there you go. Give that a go on, you're right. You carry on. Really good. Fantastic. Okay, right, I'm going to risk life from them. We're going to tip the whole thing over on its side. I'll come around your
Which
side.
way?
Right?
I'll catch it with
Hopefully we won't see too much oil come out. We'll see.
Right.
Okay, so as regards the engine, it's held in by, the looks of it, by 3 bolts, and they look like it could be a 12. They're very rusty,
Yeah, right. I didn't
but they look like a 12. So I'm going to grab me a 12mm socket. We'll see if this little one has enough beans to get them out. Fantastic, thank you. Right. Don't know. Let's see. Oh, machine.
Nice.
Okay, so when I get the last one out, then this is going to
This is gonna-
separate.
yeah.
Yeah, so just maybe
Hold.
keep hold of the engine, don't
Okay.
it falling on you. That's 2. Right, ready? Last one.
Yeah. Got it.
Okay, cool. I've got the chassis. You've
Yeah,
got the
I've got
engine,
the
yeah.
engine.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, so I can get rid of all of this. That's now scrap. Peculiar. Right, so let's grab that. Oh, it's actually pretty light, isn't it? I was expecting more heavy than that. Okay. Right, you can lose the block of wood if you want. You can put that on the floor. Spare one. Okay, I think there goes the oil, look.
Oh,
Right,
there
so
we
let me round. I knew we were going to spill some oil at some
There
point.
is.
So the dipstick has just fallen out, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Ah, we undid the screw and it just pulls out. Okay, so we don't need the dipstick anymore. We can get rid of that. Damn, you are good.
Right.
Okay, let's get rid of the fuel tank while we're on, because that's another bulky bit that we don't need. We won't need access
Okay.
into various bits and pieces. So that's a 12 as well, fortunately. So we can buzz that off.
Well,
So quick with the power tool. And we've got a
where
little
we
pipe
go
to
here.
disconnect. If you get me the side cutters
Okay.
out of there, well, you can just snip that pipe. Not that one. Are they in there, the side cutters? Oh, that'll do. Yeah, they've got cutters on.
that's all right.
Use a bull nose.
Here.
Yeah, just hack it any way you want, just like a wrecker's yard would.
There you go.
Brilliant. Have a free fuel tank.
Thank you.
There
I'll take that home.
you go. Sure. Right. Okay, now I think probably the best thing for us to do.
There's some oil here.
Oh, we'll just.
Should I shove this in here?
Oh, you can do. Yeah. Just wedge that in. That might help to stop some of it leaking out.
Stop it from coming out.
Okay, so I think the next job is to get the flywheel off.
Right.
We can take this big lump, because this is quite heavy as well.
Yes, yeah.
So, in that second drawer from the bottom is the big impact wrench, the really big one.
Oh, wow.
So, to your left.
This one? Oh, this
That's the
one.
way you go. Have you not met this one before?
No.
This is awesome. So, nothing ever fails. This just gets everything out. Put it on full power.
Yeah.
Now, have you got your cracking bar that we had the socket
Yeah,
on?
yeah.
You grab that. Great stuff. So we just need a socket
Just
up
the
there.
socket, right.
There we go. Alright, so I'm going to let you do this. Now I'm pretty sure it's a normal thread, but we'll find out. Okay, so I'm going to hold the engine.
The right way up?
That's
tight now.
tight. There we go. Right, so pop that on there. And just see if it's going to undo it. Give it a good switch. There's a big kick on this, so 2 hands, alright? Yeah, that's it.
Oh, it's done.
Brilliant.
Okay.
There you go. That was cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was.
Easy enough.
So easy. Waiting for it to loosen.
Yeah.
It's done.
Now maybe that's going to come off. We can get rid of that bit. There you
Yep.
go. Have a free bit.
Awesome, thank
Get rid of
you.
the fan. Now this bit might be a bit harder to get off because
Right.
it is a flywheel and they're usually
Yes.
keyed to the shaft. So
Right.
next job is to extract this. Now probably in the factory they'll have a puller.
Okay.
Now we do have a puller somewhere. I can go and find that. Maybe we can get the arms under there and we use the puller.
Okay.
All right, Lily. There's the
Right.
puller.
Awesome.
We need a couple of accessories for it, so I'll grab those as well. You might see the
Very
whole thing
cool.
on twice, actually. It might be easier. Man, you're on it already, aren't you?
Right.
Okay, so we need. Yes, we can do it. We can do it here. So we need to wind this. Jeez, what's going on there? There we are. We need to wind this centerpiece down quite a long way. Right, hang on, we've got another part to put on yet.
Right, and I need to get this done.
Perfect. Okay, so this little piece here just goes on the end. It's got like a little nipple on it, and that'll sit in the end of the crank. See, there's a little hole,
Yes.
little recess.
Do I need to
So we'll just,
loosen it a bit?
maybe I can get it on. No. It says, there we go.
Oh,
Right.
nice.
So that now should locate it. We got make sure all the arms are under.
Yep.
All right. It's good when you've got 4 hands.
It is,
When you're working on
yeah.
your own, this is a
It
bit
must be
tricky.
so tricky.
So we'll go as far down as we can with this. Didn't mean to sweat your belly button ring. Sorry.
That's right.
Okay.
Oh, imagine hooking that.
Oh yeah.
Goodness me.
Quite painful. Right. Make sure we're in the right place.
Yep.
Because once you get a bit of force on it, this is a hydraulic puller, it can actually create a lot of force.
Right.
Okay, so next job, we start the hydraulic part. So we just turn that way. You can do that while I hold it.
Okay, so just keep going.
Yep, and it should just go bang once it gets a bit of tension on it.
Okay.
He says with complete confidence. That's it, keep going.
Fingers on.
Whey!
Whoa, I see.
There you go.
Goodness
that was pretty cool, wasn't it? On camera, in fact. Right. So 1 flywheel, that big cast iron flywheel. And that's got the magnet built in for the pickup for the coil, you see. Right, so we've just probably halved the weight of the engine. Look at that now. Look at that. Nothing to it, is
Jeez,
it?
that was like
Yeah, so most of the
weight.
weight's there, isn't it? Oh, yeah. 3 magnets.
Right.
Okay,
Just a little wait.
so we're getting to the point now where there's probably still some oil in the engine.
Oh, there it comes.
There you go. It's alright, we'll just let it leak out on the rag.
Okay.
That'll be the easiest way. Sometimes you've got to just accept defeat and it's going to leak
Yeah.
oil. Okay, so I think the next thing to do is to take the cylinder head off this engine.
Right.
But at the moment we've got brackets and all sorts of stuff on it, which is
Yes.
making it really awkward to work with. So let's take all the brackets off
Okay.
and let's take the carburetor off as well.
Okay.
Just
Awesome.
to thin the whole thing out. So we need the 10mm socket back on there again.
Awesome. Should I just take these?
Yeah, you can start buzzing those out if you like.
I'm taking off, not this one, hey? I'm not taking off this.
Let's just spin it round 180 and everybody can see what's going on there because you've got a camera over there as well.
Taking these?
Yeah, what the hell, take it
All
off.
these ones?
Yeah, we're going to be taking those off as well, so you can buzz those out. I always like taking some apart because you get all these free bolts.
Yes, right.
Very
and then
useful.
you're just really taking everything
It
off.
saves
hey?
buying new ones, yeah. So yeah, you can pull that one out as well if you want. No idea what's behind there, we'll have a look.
Let's find out.
There we go.
Look.
Is it going to come off?
What is that? Oh.
Oh, so we've got a gasket. And looks like a little strainer
Yeah.
down there, look. Okay, so we can come to that bit later on.
Yeah.
Right, now the next job is the carbs. That's these 2 bolts here, or 2 nuts.
Right.
So you whiz those out. Fantastic. And that plastic bit's going to come off. That can go on the bench out of the way. And now Mr. Carburetor has got a few little wires and, you know, obviously the control wires to it. So we're not too concerned. Oh, it just fell apart.
That was just sitting on top of
it. It was, wasn't it?
Earlier, yeah.
So that's actually broken.
Right.
Because there was no retaining screw or anything. It's just snapped off. There should be a little brass nut.
Right.
A thread and a nut.
That was just sitting over it.
Ah, okay, cunning.
Could that be part of the problem?
It could be. It might be one of the reasons why they decided to bin it.
Right.
Okay, so now we've got, let's undo all this linkage. So you've got a bolt there.
That one?
That one's just a pivot bolt.
Oh,
No, so you've got one there, look, one there.
Okay.
Try those two. Cool. Brilliant.
Awesome.
Oakley. Super job. Right, so we'll get rid of these springs if we can. Come on, Mr. Spring, you can do it.
Hook around themselves.
Oh, it's
Just
quite long, isn't
around, yeah.
it? Gee, that wasn't going to fall off, was it?
No, it is stuck on
A
there.
pair of long nose pliers if you've got them up there. Just bend it back with that. Super job. Right, let's see if we can just bend that spring. Right,
Awesome.
so all of that, we can just unhook that one. There you go, that's all rubbish. Get that off. Got our pipe, that's our fuel pipe that we cut earlier on.
Yep.
And that carb should just wiggle off now.
Cool.
Pretty good.
Done.
It's easy, isn't it?
It is.
Taking stuff apart is so easy. It's putting it back together is a bit of an issue.
Yeah, right. Having to piece by piece.
Right, now, next job. Let's get rid of these two long studs. So we need those knoll grips again if you've got them. They're on the bench there by the device. Fantastic. Right, that's good.
Do I?
Is it tight enough? Oh yeah, go on then.
Yeah.
There you go. So you can just slacken them off and then we should be able to get them out by hand. Maybe.
How do I?
So to release it,
Release them.
obviously be careful with your fingers because they can go off with a bit of a bang.
Right.
There you go. So try that one now. You can just try and get a bit further down the jaws. There you go, like that.
Right.
Because they're a tapered jaw, you see. That's it. So you can pop it off now.
Do I?
So that way
pull
towards
it
you.
this way?
Yeah. Don't hurt yourself because it is pretty. I did do it pretty tight.
Right.
There you go. So
And
now,
then-
yeah. See if you can get that other one undone.
Oh, yeah.
You got it. They are quite tight. And if they're really
It's on
tight,
my
you can put two nuts on the threads and lock them together, and then you can use a window
Oh,
one to
right.
buzz
That's a
them
good
off.
idea.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's always an easy way of doing stuff.
Yeah,
Doing it by
yeah,
hand
yeah.
like this isn't really the ideal way, but if they're loose enough, then what the hell, it's quick, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
So we've got down to the bare engine. It's tiny.
It is, hey. Once
Poor
you
little
strip
engine.
everything off.
Yeah, all that grass that this
flywheel
engine
was
cut.
bloody heavy.
It was very heavy. Right, so we've basically cleared all the crap off the engine. We've drained most of the oil over the bench, which is it's getting even lighter now.
It is.
Wow.
Shell.
Okay, you can buzz that rocker cover up again now because I think most of the oil's
Oh,
gone
yeah,
out,
that's
so you can
right.
buzz that off. Hell, you're quick. Are you sure you weren't a mechanic in a previous life?
No, I wish I was. And I could fix my own car.
You could.
Do I?
I reckon that's going to be my job one day, isn't it?
Probably.
I can see all the tall girls get me.
Coming.
They get me to do stuff for them, you know, to fix their cars. Right, so more rubbish. Have some free brackets.
Take a strip to the scrap metal.
Yeah, on a regular basis. Okay, now the cylinder head, this is a push rod engine, so it's
Yep.
got two metal rods that come up from a little cam on further down the engine, which we're going to find.
Right.
So all we need to do is undo 4 bolts to get the cylinder head off. So we've got 1, 2, and inside there 3, 4.
Cool.
And then we should, in theory, be able to pull that clean off.
Right.
Now you're going to need an extension
Yeah.
bar for that. So you should find one in there. Just a short one. Yep. So we'll put that on there. Look.
Awesome.
Yep. Cool. Now this is a wiggly extension, so just be careful.
Okay.
If it goes out of control, it can flick the socket off.
Okay.
All right. So it's scrap. Normally you'd do them Katie corner, so you'd do that one and then this one and that one.
Okay.
Cool. Wow. This is getting to the exciting bit.
Good, yeah. I love power tools.
So quick with power
It
tools.
is, hey, so much easier.
And I find the electric ones are they're just so much easier to
Yes.
than the air tools that I used to use years ago. what, years ago? Like 3 months ago?
3 months ago.
Right, cool. Okay, so now that should just pull clean off. And those are little tiny push rods, look.
Jeez.
Nothing to them, is there?
So small.
Yeah, there you go.
Cool.
And mind the oil, you've got a bit of a leakage going on.
I'll do it.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's all right. It's all good.
Okay.
Just find a home for it. Right then, Lily. Basically, we're learning about pistons and stuff and engines and things now. So that's your piston.
Yes.
And if I turn the crank, can you see it's going down?
Yes. Yep.
And then back up. And what we're looking for is the condition of the cylinder wall around here.
Right.
So a good way of checking it is just get a blunt screwdriver and just run it across. And if you feel any ridges, then you know that basically it's knackered, to be honest.
Right.
Because those piston rings that are on the piston, they seal on this smooth surface. And if it's got grooves in it, they can't seal anymore.
Can't seal properly.
And that's when we get the air leaking past. We call that bypass.
Right.
And that would cause a pressure in the crankcase, and it can pop dipsticks out and blow seals and all sorts of stuff.
Right. Interesting.
So it doesn't look too bad.
No, it doesn't. It's very smooth.
Yeah, it's such a shame that this machine's really been scrapped, to be honest.
Yes, yeah.
But we did find a fault with the carburetor, though, didn't we?
We did,
so
yeah.
maybe the guy hadn't spotted that, and he thought the engine was scrap when it was a problem with the carb.
Actually, the carb.
Yeah. Okay. So the next job is if we tip it round. There's got to be access to get the crankshaft out. And if we look around this casting here, we'll see that we've got some bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we need to buzz all of those out, and then hopefully we can split the casing along this line here, and then we can actually see the crankshaft.
Right.
Pretty cool.
Inside there. Yeah. Cool.
Coolio. So can I just turn it a little bit this way? Is that all right?
Yeah, that's
cool.
cool.
Okay, so work your way around that ring of bolts.
Awesome.
I'll hold the engine for you. Oh yeah, look at that.
Awesome.
I can see you're going to go moonlighting, fixing lawnmower engines
Yeah,
soon,
just
aren't you?
go around, start my own lawn mowing repair company.
They're actually a good little engine to learn on, to get the basics of how an engine works and the
Yeah.
components.
Let me get that one out.
Is it a bit fiddly?
Just a
Those long nose
funny
pliers will
gap.
work. Here you go.
Yeah.
Try those. Just to give it a pull out.
Get in there. Hard to get around the screw in this small gap. These two, hey, as well.
Yep, go for it. Hey, you've got it. Brilliant job. Now, before we go any further, you'll see we've also got these things here, look.
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Now, obviously a crankshaft spins really fast.
Yes.
And there's a bearing inside this casting for the crankshaft to spin on.
Yes.
So this casting here has to be perfectly aligned with the other casting.
Right.
Otherwise, the crankshaft would run out of alignment and it would
Yes.
vibrate really badly.
Yeah.
So these are called dowels.
Right,
Now,
and they sit.
Yeah, they help to locate. So it's pretty rusty, this machine. So those dowels are probably going to be a bit seized in. So we need to get the oh, a spider, look. There he is. Yeah. Oh, spider. I hate spiders.
I don't know.
How many legs has he got? I can't even see it. He's run away.
He's
All right.
gone. Yeah.
So we're going to use our magic hammer. Now,
Okay.
I don't know if you use a magic hammer or not at all. The magic hammer is a very... Oh, there he is. Look, huge spider. Magic hammer has got... It's got very special properties.
Yes.
And it contains unicorn blood.
Oh.
So we've got to be very careful with it, because if we use all the unicorn blood up,
Yes.
it costs a fortune to get it refilled.
Right.
Right, I'm going to stand over here and
Yep.
hold the engine.
Okay.
And what I need you to do, we'll start somewhere where it's easy to hammer. Right. So if you can give that a tap.
Yeah.
Yep. You're going that way. That's it. Hey, easy time. Easy. Stop.
Oh, stop.
Jesus Christ. Okay. All right.
Smash it
Maybe
down.
not quite so hard, because it's definitely coming off. There, yeah, that's more like it. A bit more finesse. There we go. Okay. And you can use the copper end if you want to give it more of a shock
Oh no.
rather than the hard end. Okay, we've got all sorts of stuff falling out. Hang on. So, we've got gears and followers and all sorts of stuff, but it is coming off, there's no doubt about that, but it's a bit reluctant to come off. I want to make sure that there's nothing else holding it in place.
Is something... Is it a gear?
Is it actually, yeah, there's gears, but is it actually holding it in place? No, it's not. Right, we're doing the right thing. Okay. Shall I give it a go?
Yeah, get on.
Right. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
And what it'll be, you can see the shaft's all rusty.
Yes, just trying to loosen up.
That rust is going to be... The noise is changing a bit.
Yes, yep. As
So
it's moving
just
through.
spin it round. Oh yeah.
Nice.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, so we've got bits going on here. That looks a bit mangled, whatever the hell that was. Okay, I need a rag. It's getting pretty oily in there, isn't it? Okay, that's all right. That's fine.
Alright.
Yeah. It's more me than the,
Oh, right,
than the
in the
engine. I was
veg.
gonna say. Right, so we've got all sorts going on. Just feeling the oil, it feels quite gritty. It doesn't feel,
yes.
you know, it doesn't feel like nice smooth oil, does it?
No.
First impressions, Lily, just looking at the condition of the oil, you know, it feels really gritty.
It does feel gritty.
And it looks sort of that metallic sort of tinge to it, as if there's
Yes.
metal in the oil, which would indicate a catastrophic failure. So let's just try and... Oh, that's supposed to be like that, isn't it? Okay. I thought that had fallen. Has fallen down. It shouldn't be down there. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. So just inspecting the parts. Again, you can see it quite clearly on here. That's not normal oil colour. It's a very grey in feel,
does,
isn't
hey,
it?
it's
A
got
lot of
different-
sludge going on.
Different colours through.
And I think if we ran that through, washed it off with some petrol, and then sieved it, we'd get fragments of metal.
Right.
You know, so you're looking for shiny stuff in the oil.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so let's bin that bit. And then just looking at this end casing here, again, we've got... Andy should be wearing gloves, I know, but you
Look at that.
yeah, you can actually feel metallic in all that oil. It's not good. And that really doesn't look very good either, does it? There's a...
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if that's supposed to be like that. See, I'm learning with you on these.
Is that meant to...
Yeah. Well, they do seem to open and close, so it's...
Yeah, maybe it's part of the...
Maybe that's normal. Okay, we'll put that bit to one side for now, because it is a learning curve.
Yeah.
God damn, it's so oily.
So much oil.
Right, so what we've got now is we've got a piston with a conrod onto the crankshaft, and this is called the big end bearing.
Yes.
Now, we can't just pull the crankshaft out because the piston's connected to it, so we need to undo those two bolts,
Okay.
take the end cap off, and then we can pull the piston out through the top.
Right.
So that's the next step of disassembly. So we're going to need, I think it's a 10mm spanner by the looks of it. Yeah, see if we can get in there with a 10mm spanner. Cool, okay. Jeez, your hands are already down. Man, you've got gloves, you're alright.
No, I need to...
There you go. Clean your hands. Right.
I want to see the you can.
Okay, I'm going in. So I'm just going to try and crack that off. Geez, that was tight. Don't think I actually got it off.
No, I don't think yet.
Shouldn't be that tight. Bloody hell. Okay, so what we need to do is rotate that around so we can get a socket on it, I think.
Right, okay.
So we'll try and get it a bit further up. There we are. And I need a ratchet and a 10mm socket. So I've got the 10mm socket. There should be a ratchet. Is there a ratchet in there? In the top of There we go. Let's try that because I really need to go. The problem is, spanners are what we call bi-hex. So it's a lot easier for those to slip on the bolt head.
Yes.
Whereas a socket is single hex. Or the good ones are anyway.
Yes, yeah.
All right. So what we'll do is we'll pop that on there.
So it's better.
And then hopefully we can get enough beans in there to just crack it off. Fingers crossed. Right, you can't really see a lot because my hands are in the way, but we'll give it a go. Right. Yeah, we got that one. Okay, let's just rotate the crank a bit more. There we are. Just get on there, can't we? Look at that.
Nice.
Okay, here goes.
Go.
Done.
Awesome.
Okay, you might be able to twizzle them. You can get your
yeah.
hand in there.
Yeah.
Man, there's no way I get my hand in
lucky
there.
for some. That's why you need 2 girls.
You can come back, definitely.
That's why
Makes
you
my
need
life a lot
2
easier.
girls. If it wasn't for these oily gloves.
Fantastic.
Getting that?
So it might bring the whole stud out with it, or it might just be. Is it a bolt or a nut?
No, it's a.
Oh, it's a
long
bolt.
bolt.
There you go. Okay. Can you get there? Or do you
Yeah,
want,
I can.
You can rotate the crank a bit if you want.
That way. Yeah, I might need to.
Okay,
Just
so
slightly.
how about like
yeah,
that?
that's
Is that
good.
going to work?
That's good. Oh, and that came up. Alright.
Fantastic. So we've got there. That's the end cap
2.
of the conrod. Okay. Doesn't look too bad. We'll inspect that on the bench. Okay. What do you got? What do you think?
2 pieces of this, but I'm trying to work out if it's metal or just rubber.
No.
It's not metal, I don't think.
No, it's flexible, isn't it?
Flexible.
It could just be gasket.
Part of a gasket.
Could be gasket
something
seal.
else.
Okay, so you've undone the end cap
Yes.
on the bottom of the conrod. So now we can rotate the crank down. That'll separate. You see now the conrod's
Yes.
free in there?
Yep.
And now if I get careful, I can push that piston up.
Oh wow. Right.
And that piston should.
Right out.
There you go.
Nice. Awesome.
There's the piston. So we'll take a
So
close.
that connects to that.
It does, and you can even put the bolts back in for that if you want, just to hold it all together. There you go, give that a whizzle on there. Just a few turns is enough. There you go, there's a good one. God damn, why that? Jeez. Right, now the next job, and the last job, is to extract the crankshaft.
Right.
And we've got another bit's falling out.
there
What's
it
that
is.
bit? Ah, that's the other follower,
Oh,
isn't
yeah,
it?
there it is,
Okay,
yeah.
right. Okay, so turn this around.
Look at that oil. The state of the oil. Look at that. So
It is,
gluggy.
and you pull that out there, look at that.
Oh,
It's fantastic, isn't it? That's a
so
really,
glug.
yeah. Yeah, I think this guy probably didn't do an oil change for a very long time.
Right.
So there's probably aluminium. It looks very aluminium,
It
doesn't
does,
it? A lot of
hey,
aluminium
all
colour to
through.
it. Okay, so we need that unicorn hammer again, which is right over there, look, on the bench in the far corner.
Right. Oh, my hands are so oily.
Okay, so this time you can do the hammer end again. And what you can do is, with the copper end,
Yep.
just tap that.
Your
I'll turn it around a bit.
Your
so-
way?
Yep. Holy moly.
so much
She's all over it, right. Go on then, give it a tap. That should bring the crankshaft down.
Nice.
How easy was that?
Awesome.
Okay,
So easy.
one crankshaft. There you go.
Awesome.
And that basically, apart from a bearing, that's everything out of the casing. And we can clean that cylinder
Yes.
and have a really good look and see how good the bore is.
Yes. Yeah.
According to our tests earlier on, it was in really good nick.
Yes. Yeah. It was
Cool.
very
So we'll give things a bit of a clean up, get the brake cleaner out, clean up the bench,
Yeah.
and then we'll do a final inspection.
Cool.
Brilliant job. Well done. That was really good.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Right, Lily, we're just going to give the whole thing a bit of a swirl down. Before we start, I should have put these on hours ago. Yeah, I'm terrible for it, honestly. But, you know.
Right.
So we're going to use some brake cleaner just to swirl the whole thing out. Now, you should really be wearing some eye protection for this because it can spray back at you.
Okay.
So I think it's second drawer down. There's a next one up. In there you'll find a multitude of very nice, ladylike.
Do you want to have?
No, I'm a bloke. I don't have eye protection. What are you on about?
Pretend pink.
Jeez, you can have a pink. Look at that. Nice. Okay, so this is brake cleaner.
Yeah.
It sort of dissolves oil and washes it all out.
Yes.
So you can give a bit of a spray with that. It's quite aggressive. We can stick it in here. Look.
Yeah.
There you go. And that way we might be able to reuse it a bit.
Oh wow.
That's it. It's really good gear. Try and keep the can as upright as you can.
Okay.
That's the one. That's cool. And we give it a bit of a swirl round. There we go, look. Let me tip it out. Yeah, that's a lot better. Cool. Great job. That'll do. Right, then a little bit down the cylinder if you can. Oh, strong stuff. Brilliant.
Awesome.
Okay, so that's ready for a wipe out now.
Yep.
So we'll leave that to drain a little bit of the way. And we do the same thing with this one. Okay, there we go. One more. Oh, look at that sludge in there, yeah. Jeez. Okay, so that'll probably do. I think we have to go completely mad because we're not rebuilding it.
Yeah.
Super job.
Wow, it's quite sludgy. Yeah, you
It's
can see it all there. Look,
very
it's
sludgy.
like lumping up.
Yeah, look in there, look. And look at the colour of it. It's very grey, isn't it? It's not
grey.
oil colour.
No,
you know?
no.
So grey means
You
aluminium.
can see all of the.
It's like panning for gold, isn't it?
Yeah.
There isn't any. Believe me,
No.
there's no gold in there. You can try, but there isn't any. Okay, well, see how clean that's
Yeah,
got now?
that's awesome.
It's great, isn't it? Compared to how bad it was. Right, so that can go up on the bench. We can talk about that in a minute.
Cool.
We've just got the old crankshaft to clean next, so I think we're pretty much. Oh, crankshaft and piston. So give that a bit of a spray down. Just the middle bit's really what we're looking at. That's it. Just the other some of the oil. Fantastic. Okay, so that can go on the bench.
Awesome.
That'll dry off over there. And last but not least, the piston. So around the piston area and around the big end bearing. That's it. Great stuff. God, you could get high enough.
Yeah, it's stronger.
Look at that.
Yeah, so
Brilliant. That'll do.
Awesome.
That's good enough what we want. There we go. Super job. Right.
Great.
You missed the camera again. Oh my God. Honestly, tall girls are a nightmare.
Being cheeky behind your back.
You've always been cheeky, girl, I'll tell you that. Right. So good job I've got a very high tolerance threshold
You do
to hot,
well.
sexy women, believe it or not, because you're definitely in that category, there's no
Thank
doubt
you.
about that. Okay, so where are we at? Well, a quick run through of the parts. The bore, yeah, Lily, you can hold that, you can show the people.
You can hear.
And I'll get my torch, because the torch is my special spooker's torch. Torches are pretty good for looking at things like bores and stuff. And it's very hard to see on camera, but that bore actually looks, well, it looks in pretty good nick, to be perfectly honest. I'm going to have a really good close-up, but I think it's actually
does.
pretty good. Yeah, so a quick scan.
Smooth.
Okay, so we've got aluminium in the oil. We've found that out. Question is, where did it come from? What failed? And you know, to help find that, what's made of aluminium?
Yes.
Well, obviously the casings are. The bore isn't. The bore's going to be cast iron. Yeah, sure is cast iron. It's got a sleeve in there, which is good. But that bore, just looking at it, I know you can't see too well on the screen, but that bore there it's actually not in bad nick. So bore's good, and it's made of cast iron anyway, so
Yeah.
that's not the problem.
The casing's all good. Nothing internally is cracked or chipped or.
No, it's actually fully
Good,
functional, isn't
yeah.
it? Yeah. And then we've got the end casing that we removed with a big hammer using some unicorn blood. And again, yes, it's full of oil that's got contaminant in it. It's very clear, it's very grey, and it's got basically aluminium suspended in there. But nothing's broken. Everything seems to be as it should be.
Working as it.
So, you know, I'm quite happy with that. So,
Interesting.
what else is made of aluminium? Well, maybe, just maybe, the big end bearing failed. I don't know. What we have to do is put it back on the crank and check for any kind of play. Now, this engine doesn't use bearing shells. It's just the conrod. Basically, let's take these two bolts out for you. The conrod itself, yeah, you can grab hold of the cap. There you go, I'm shooting the bolt there. So the conrod is made of aluminium, and it runs, there's no bearing in there, it's just the aluminium that runs directly onto the crankshaft. So what we'll do is we'll mount this back onto the crank, do up the two bolts, and we'll see if there's any play.
Right.
And if there is, then we've found our culprit. And it would have been a knocking noise to the customer when the engine revved up. It'd gone, brum, you know, you hear this knock, classic big end knock. Right.
I know what a big end knock sounds like because an ex-boyfriend of mine ran a big end bearing in my old Evo.
Oh, in your Evo?
Yeah,
Nice.
it's a Mitsu, there you go.
Oh, well, yeah. Evos are pretty cool.
Yeah, it was alright. It wasn't the most reliable. Cost it a fair
Okay,
bit.
so if I hold that,
Right.
and it could be the wrong way around, but it doesn't matter too much for this particular experiment. Pop the 2 bolts in. If you go and find your impact wrench, you could buzz them up with the impact wrench,
Yeah,
couldn't
I'll
you?
do that.
Pretty quick. Cool, yeah. I think it's on the bench somewhere.
Size was fully on 10.
Very hot turbo.
Is it a 10?
Oh, sorry, I was distracted. Yes, yes, yes. It is a 10, Lily.
Andy,
Yes.
Andy, is it a 10?
I have no idea. I need to check again. Okay, are you in do-up mode? You need to concentrate now. Okay, so I'll whiz that up. That's it, that'll do. They were really tight though, weren't they, earlier on?
Yeah, they were.
Okay, so... Oh, it doesn't turn it on now. Okay, maybe it's the wrong way around. All right, buzz it off again then. It is important we get it right around.
Oh no.
Well, you know. We haven't even cracked open the siders yet and we're losing the plot.
Distractions are not good.
Well, you're yourself to blame for that. Right then. So we'll turn that around, stick it back in there. Now make sure the cap goes on. The cap will be sided because they are line bore machines. So
Otherwise.
yeah, I think so. Let's give it a go. Holy moly! Hang on a minute. We should have marked it before we took it off, but it was all down a little ravine, wasn't it? It was hiding.
That way.
There, look. That's how it goes. So we'll take that off. It's even got numbers on it.
It's got the numbers on the same
Right.
end.
It has. You're a genius. What would I do without you two, Girl Lilli, honestly? Somebody needs to know what's going on. Right, so there you go. Pop your bolts back in. Right, ready when you are. You're in do-up mode now, aren't you?
Now I am.
You are now. Right, so there you go. Go on then.
Yeah, I might watch your glove.
That'll do.
Go.
Right. It turns!
There we go.
Yes, we're right around. Okay, so the question is there any play? There isn't.
No play.
Let's put it in the vise and take a closer look. Hold that, Lily, for a second. Cheers.
Cool.
All right, Lily, can you demonstrate that? Can you feel it? Up and down? Very hard to see, but there definitely is some movement there. And for a big end bearing, there can't be any movement like that. Otherwise, it will create a hell of a knocking noise. Yeah, not good at all. Okay, but maybe there's some other bits in the engine that have worn as well that have created that contamination of aluminium in the oil, because, you know, I really can't imagine that small amount of aluminium that's come from that bearing, because this is cast iron, so the aluminium from the bearing has been enough to contaminate all that oil.
Yeah,
there must be something else in the engine that's actually worn away. Damn. Okay. We'll have a quick look at the cylinder head. Coolio. Okay, well, I think before we go any further, it's all Girl Lilli.
We need to clean it.
No, we don't. We need a cider.
We are having a cider.
We are having a cider.
Thank you.
It's Cider Sunday.
Slips through my oily gloves.
Oh, just grip it tight, girl. Grip it tight.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. That is good.
Oh,
Honesty box.
I've got a huge burp coming.
That is yum.
Not a sponsor yet. Right. Free cider would go down a treat.
It would.
I'll be sending them an email. Okay, so what have we not looked at so far? Well, we've not looked at the cylinder head, have we? Let's look at that. So let's whiz those two little rockers out, since you've got your impact gun. So you want to be on undo mode. And buzz it on there, and fingers crossed it'll just buzz them off. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Come on, all the way. There we are, look, the whole thing can come out. There you go, fantastic. So we got a nut with that time, and yeah, it'll leave a little stud. It'll leave a stud behind it. It doesn't matter. That's all right. Great job.
Cool.
Okay, so where are we at with this? Well, obviously she was a bit of an oil burner. You can see the carbon residue inside the cylinder head. So it was burning a little bit of oil, which does say that the rings were maybe compromised a little bit, but the bore's in good condition. Has anything worn in here? Well, there isn't really a lot of things to wear in there. I mean, sure, it's got valve guides, but they're not aluminium. Valve guides are hardened steel. So other than the fact that it's burning oil, we haven't really got an issue with the cylinder head. We've already checked the valve seats. It wasn't leaking through the valves, was it?
Yeah.
So, you know, cylinder head, good to go.
Good to go too.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's got me stumped, but we found one problem. The big end had a bit of play in it.
Play in that.
Maybe the oil had just been there in there a very long time. It was very gluggy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it
You
was
know?
very gluggy.
Yeah. So if you've got any ideas what you think might have caused the demise of this engine, then do let me know, because I haven't found it.
Everything's looking pretty good.
When you say that, even the main bearings to the crankshaft, so we just grab that again. Oh, sorry, really crap camera work now. The main bearings for the crank, so the crankshaft is supported here and here. Those bearings, or one of the bearings, isn't a bearing at all. It's just a bush. In the other end, inside where the cylinder is, it's got a ball bearing. See in there, look, Lily?
Yeah,
So it's got a big hefty bearing in there. And on the other side, which is a bit further away from the line of the cylinder, it's just got a bush. And believe it or not, that's made of aluminium. Now maybe, just maybe, there's a bit of play in that as well. So we can test that. Have a quick look. So we'll flick the seal out and get rid of the seal. And then we'll put the crankshaft back in there and see if we can feel any play in that big end. Sorry, in that main bearing. Okay, screwdriver time.
Screwdriver.
Big flat screwdriver, Lily, if you can.
That one?
Oh yes, bigger the better. That's what they always say, isn't it? Okay, let's see if we can get that out. Nearly. Boing!
Got him.
There we go. And I didn't break the screwdriver this time.
Nobody was harmed in the making of this video.
not
apart
yet.
From the seal.
Not yet. Okay, so we can mount this in the vise.
Right.
So we'll do that. That's it. Give it a push. There you go. Keep going.
Other way.
That'll work. Just crank it up, nice and tight. Other way.
Tight with
Other way,
it
Lily.
tight now.
Yeah. Give it a crank. You can do it. Nice and tight. So that can't move anywhere.
So,
You've got oil in your hair. You have. You've got oil in your hair.
so-
That's
oh,
a real tool girl there. Look. Good job. It'll just help to.
It'll
you know,
add some
when you brush your hair, it'll
natural oils
flow.
into it.
Yeah, a bit of aluminium encrusted oil. Can't go wrong. Right, crankshaft time.
Right.
So, just thinking out loud, this was the bottom. This was the bit that clamped to the chassis of the lawnmower,
Yes. Yep.
and this is the end where the blades go on. So it has to go through. So that bush sits on this part of the crank. So we're just going to pop it through. I'm going to move the camera for you. Right, Lily, if you push that all the way through until it's in a position where it would normally be when it's in the, when the engine's built, and then what we're going to do is see if, oops, sorry camera, that's it, and we're going to see if we can get some movement. I'm going to work around the tripod here.
Right.
Let's feel this end. Oh, there's a bit, isn't there?
You can see it.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
Right.
I mean, it is accentuated because we haven't got a bearing this side, but
Yes.
it's pretty loose, actually. Bit of play in there.
It's loose, yeah.
I mean, one thing to think about is, obviously, once that oil gets contaminated, you've then got a lubricant which has got metal in it, and as that splashes around the engine and makes contact with all the other bearing surfaces, it's going to start to damage them as well. So it's a very quick demise of many components in the engine. And that's a good point, actually. That's the thrust there, look. So that's not relevant at all.
Right.
That side-to-side movement. It's this up and down on the big end.
Yes, yeah.
Which, there is a bit. It's not horrific, but there is a bit. But obviously it's a fail because there shouldn't be any.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Awesome.
Well, I reckon
Alright.
we need some more cider.
We need some more ciders.
Cylinder head.
Cylinder head.
What do you like?
It's like crank.
You can't cheat. I'm going to ask you a question in a minute. All right, I'll leave that till last if you remember it. Okay, right. So we've sort of come to the end of this sort of investigation. It was really more for Lily to learn the components and to see what's inside an engine. We found a fault. I don't believe it's the only fault. I think there are other faults in there as well, but you know, who knows what it could be? There seems to be a lot of aluminium in that oil.
Yes.
A lot more than what could have come from that big end bearing, and there was definitely play in that big end bearing, which is a definite no-no. So anyway, Lily, we've done a bit of engine work today now. So what is this cast iron piece here that spins around at stupid speeds inside the engine?
Is it the crankshaft?
It is. You've got it right. Well done. That's one out of many questions coming your way.
Right.
All right. So then the thing that connects the crankshaft to the piston, what's this thing here in the middle?
This piece?
That aluminium thing in the middle there, look. So it's got the big end bearing on it.
Conrod.
It is. It's Conrod, because it's short, abbreviated for connecting rod.
Oh, connecting rod.
Conrod.
Awesome, Conrod.
And some engines have aluminium ones, like, you know, all these sort of lawnmower stuff is aluminium because it doesn't need to be particularly strong.
Yes.
And then, you know, cars have like cast iron ones and, you know, forged and billet and all that kind of stuff. So there's different types, different strengths. For the more performance the engine has, the stronger that Conrod has to be. Right. Otherwise, it'll let go. And go through the block and make a real mess. Okay, lastly, what's this bit on the top here?
Piston.
It is very easy, the piston there, look. And these things that are on the piston, let's take one off. Okay, here we go, look. I usually break them when I'm taking them off, so we'll give it a go. Right, here we go. Break it on camera, Andy. Maybe not.
I don't know, but is
there's a technique, hang on.
Is it a circle up?
There you go, you got it, that's it. That's a piston ring.
Oh, piston ring, right.
Yeah, we've got a top ring, middle ring, and then the oil control ring, which is made of
rings that burn
three
out.
pieces. Yeah, well, they fail. That's right. They wear out, they crack, and all
creates
sorts.
The burning.
If the seal, if oil can bypass the rings, gets into the combustion chamber, that's when you get residue on top of the piston like that.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay.
Awesome.
So that's that bit. Well, there's a lot more to an engine than just that. This is pretty important. Okay. So what do we call this bit here? Look. Remember what was going up and down inside there? Before we took it apart?
Oh.
The actual part that goes inside that cylinder.
The piston went and sat in there.
It did. So any ideas what we call this bit?
Oh, I don't know what we've called it.
Put you on the spot now, haven't I?
Piston casing.
It's called the cylinder.
Cylinder. Yes.
Cylinder
or
the bore. Yeah,
bore,
there you go.
Bore. That's right.
So that's pretty much
all
that done. That's the crankcase, obviously. Now, what else have we got? Yes. This bit. This was the first engine component we took off.
Right.
And it sits basically on top of there.
Right.
That's a bit of a hint for you there. So any ideas what this might be called, Lily?
Cylinder head?
It is. It is the cylinder head, that's right. And looking inside, it's got two what? What are these things here, look?
Valves?
They are. One was an exhaust valve and one was an intake valve. And we tested it to work out which was which, didn't we? Cool. And we can flick it around and you can see the other end of the valve here, and that's the valve head.
Right.
And that has to seat and seal against there when they're closed. And these things are probably so weak, you can probably open them by hand actually. Look at that. Yeah, see, look, dead easy. You can play a tune on it. Fantastic. Okay, well, it's been a fun afternoon, it really has. We've got one more video to do, so we're going to keep cracking on, but we've got our cider now.
We've got our cider.
So things are going to slow down a bit, I reckon.
And my ankles are getting used to the height on these boots, slowly.
Man, those are awesome boots, they really are.
So cool.
Yeah, very cool. Look at that. It's a lot of fun in my workshop, and it's even more fun, Lily, when you're here.
Tool girls.
Not just any tool girl, Lily.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Right, okay, crew. Well, if you enjoyed the video, you can keep drinking, it's fine.
I've got no time to talk now.
I've got plenty more of those for you.
You talk and I'll look after me.
Absolutely. Okay, crew, well, if you enjoyed the video, why not click on the subscribe button in the top corner. You'll see a little gear icon turn up. Click on the gear icon. Hang on a minute. Get rid of the gloves. Wipe off the sweat.
Still full of
Grab
grease.
the waist.
Still
there we
full
go.
of
Look.
grease.
Okay, so click on the gear icon, and our friends, untick the box, and our friends down at YouTube will send you an email as and when I upload any new videos. And that way you won't miss any of the new stuff, and you definitely won't miss any new ones with Tool Girl Lilli. And there's going to be lots more as well.
Lots more.
Yeah, this is a great collaboration.
Absolutely.
Great fun. And off camera, well, I can't tell you. Absolutely bang on.
Secret.
Big secret. Okay, you'll also find me on
Facebook, Instagram, Google Plus, and Twitter.
You sure will. Feel free to communicate through any of those portals, chaps and chapettes. However, first point of contact, if you don't mind, through the comments just down there on YouTube. And I will try and get back to you. I can't guarantee I can answer every single comment. Often I will just like if I'm running out of time, but I will try and comment and answer your questions whenever I can. Now, there's also a new Patreon page. It's been up for about 6 months now, and that's developing. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes on. There's Tool Girl profiles. I've got a burp coming any second now. There you go. Fantastic. I'll try and do a more manly one next time then. Yeah, okay. So there's Tool Girl profiles on there. There's history of the... Don't you dare burp to camera, Tool Girl. Yeah, just you wait. I bet you do. Tool Girl profiles. There's heaps of photos that have been lifted from the videos and stuff that you can use as wallpapers and things as well. Not yet, not yet.
I have no bet.
Okay, and if you fancy donating, if you'd like to send somebody this way, that's fine. I have no problems at all with that. It'd be great to have you on board as a patron. But I would ask, please, only send what you can afford. And for as long as you can afford it. You know, don't just think you've got to sign up for years and years and years. You don't. If you want to do a one-off payment, just do that. But please, only send what you can afford. You know, that's not what it's about. We're not here to make money. But a donation is great because it does help the channel to keep going. Because we do have a lot of costs going on. Okay, crew. Well, that's about it from me. How about you?
Yeah, good.
You got any questions?
I've learned lots.
I bet you have.
I can go home and start.
Not yet. You're not.
Surveying
what do you mean
everybody.
going home? You live in another house now.
Oh yeah.
No way.
Be taking my tools downstairs and.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going to give you a PC so you can answer all the comments.
He's actually going to send me back in there with all these parts.
You've got to
put them back together.
reassemble this
I know,
engine.
he's going to make me reassemble.
We'll get it put on tray me and flog it, I reckon. All right, crew. Well, it's goodbye from Andy Mechanic, and it's goodbye
from Tool Girl Lilli.
Excellent. All right, crew.
See you guys.
Till next time. Over and out.
Bye.
And we get the flip up again.
Oh!
Really.